Why is this mission important?
Well, I think it's important because we're fulfilling a promise that began more than 35 years ago for America's return to the moon as a stepping stone for all the things that we are going to do farther out into our solar system, like someday American astronauts planting the stars and stripes on Mars. So you're doing it for the scientific potential, the economic potential, as a technological proving ground to do the things on the moon that you're going to need on Mars. And how about inspiring the next generation? I mean, how many kids after this mission are going to dress up as astronauts for Halloween and want to grow up and contribute to this great adventure?
What are expectations for tomorrow? It's a test flight.
For sure.
You hope to get to the moon? Might not happen. So what are, for people who don't quite understand what the test flight is about, what are the expectations for this?
I mean, you really said it best. This is a test flight. This is the opening act in a series of missions that will send astronauts to and from the moon with great frequency as we return to stay, to build the moon base, and again, realize the scientific and economic potential on the lunar surface. So this first mission, this is extremely challenging. You know, you go to the International Space Station, that's 1.8 million pounds of thrust, 17,500 miles an hour. This is 8.8 million pounds of thrust. These astronauts are going to go farther from Earth than any humans have ever been before, potentially faster than any humans have ever been before. When you commit to TLI and you send them to the moon, you're no longer hours away from coming back to the water. So we need to use this as an opportunity to test out the vehicle, gain confidence for subsequent missions. We'll launch again in 2027 to test the integrated operations of this spaceship with the lander. And then 2028, we're going to the surface of the moon.
How do you define success with this mission?
Well, I think first and foremost is when they're under parachute splashing down off the west coast of the United States. I mean, you know, you've got 4 very brave astronauts that know that they are taking risks beyond any astronaut has ever done since 1972. So we want to bring our crew home safely. I would say getting to the translunar injection. So this rocket will initially put Orion into a parking Earth orbit. Then we will raise it into a high Earth orbit. We'll be there for about 24 hours. We'll get really comfortable that we're ready. And then we push the button, translunar injection. We're sending that spacecraft farther into space than ever before. That is going to be a very key moment on the mission. We complete that. They come around the moon on the free return trajectory. They splash down off the west coast.
Does this crew have to loop around the moon for this mission to be a success?
I would say that that's probably one of the most important objectives, is commit to the translunar injection. Now, even after we commit to that, there are off-ramps. They can turn around and come home if necessary. We have that ability with this spacecraft. But I would say the most important part of the mission is when they're under parachutes and splashing down safely off the coast of, off the west coast of the United States.
Priority 1, bring them home safely.
Yes, sir.
What about you talking to the crew? Have you had chats with them, texts with them?
Oh yeah. So we have a text thread. I mean, I've known this crew for a very long time, long before I was ever in this job. Victor Glover, who's the pilot on this mission, he flew the spacecraft before I did on Inspiration 4 and Polaris. So we have some connections going way back. I text them all the time. You need DoorDash, you need donuts, you need coffee. I'm here for you. You need to go fly in the T-38s. I can make that happen. Mostly making sure they have everything they need so they're not stressing about things here on Earth when their attention needs to be placed towards the mission ahead.
You know, you shook things up a couple of weeks ago. What was supposed to be Artemis II is now Artemis IV. Artemis III is going to be, you know, this rehearsal in low Earth orbit. So let's talk about lunar. You can't do any of that without the lunar lander.
That's right.
What is the latest on the timeline for either Blue Origin or SpaceX to deliver a lunar orbiter?
Yeah, so what did we change, right? So now here you have Artemis II, which is about to fly around the moon. Now Artemis I, which was an uncrewed demonstration, flew in November of 2022. So here we are, 2026, we're going to fly around the moon, and then we were supposed to do nothing until late 2028, fly again, and land on the moon. That's not how it works. You know, before there was Apollo 11, there was Mercury program, there was Gemini. We build up to things logically, we learn, we buy down risk to give us the confidence to go even farther. We're getting back in that business. So in 2027, we will launch SLS again. This time, the Orion spacecraft will rendezvous with one or both landers, very Apollo 9-like, buy down risk. I will tell you both landing providers, so Blue Origin and SpaceX, have submitted proposals on how to accelerate their program. NASA's been very helpful too. We're taking a look at where we could have imposed requirements that are more appropriate for the 7th mission to the moon, maybe not necessarily the first one. So we're working collaboratively with them. Both of them have signaled they will be there to support the test in 2027. Both have an achievable timeline for a lander in 2028.
As somebody who's been through this experience on the pad before, what part of launch day makes you most nervous?
Well, I mean, I would say that there is, when people see astronauts going to and from the space station, what appears almost routinely now, that is a load and go. So meaning the astronauts are already strapped into the Dragon spacecraft, they're already on the pad, and their launch escape system is armed before you ever put the rocket fuel, the propellant, on the vehicle. SLS is very similar to how we did it prior to Falcon, which was how the shuttle program did it, certainly how the Apollo era did it as well, meaning that rocket is live and fueled when the astronauts and the crew are approaching it. So that's something we don't do all the time. We're getting back in that business of launching rockets with frequency. It's why I want us on an annual cadence, to rebuild that kind of muscle memory, but that's different, so that's something we're going to pay close attention to.